I was just about to introduce the radio station. Radio Free 102.3 KJLH. Well, it is a product of KJLH. Welcome, everybody, inside the Love Zone. My name is Kevin Nash, and of course, I got my beautiful, lovely crew with me on this beautiful Sunday evening. A long 3-day weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Aishia Deal, what's up, my love? How are you?
I'm good. I'm great.
Aishia
Happy
Deal,
to be here.
how you feel? Aishia Deal, how you feel? See? Okay.
I'm ready.
See, my rhyming game is coming together, y'all. The longer we do this, I'm saying, let me see if I can come up with something with Dr. Clardy. Let's see. Are you ready to party with Dr. Clardy? I know it's corny. All right, it's all good.
Come on, you got one more.
Dr. Justin Clardy, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Good, man.
We're
Happy
doing
to be here.
good.
You know?
Hey, before we kick the show off, we know that this weekend it's very important. We recognize and we, pay homage, give a very special salute to all of our servicemen and women who's on the front line for us, protecting our freedoms, and the ones who have fallen by the wayside, so we acknowledge them and just want to give them their props and say thank you for all that you do.
Yes.
So I want to do that. And just remember that this is what the weekend is all about. I know a lot of folk are at the beach. We got a lot of backyard barbecues happening right now, and everybody's got the day off tomorrow. Is that right?
I was trying to hightail it home. I'm like, oh my God, I stayed too long. I'm gonna get there at 7:26.
Oh no!
But I'm here.
No. How was the queue though? How was the barbecue?
It was good. It was good. I had some family time, and my cousin's in town from New Orleans, so we had fun.
All right, wonderful. Well, this time always goes by very, very fast. Every time we have episode of the Love Zone, and I know this is going to go by quickly because people are excited about tonight's topic. I'm expecting a lot of comments to come through tonight. We're simulcasting, on YouTube, the Radio Free TV YouTube channel, as well as the Radio Free KJLH Facebook page. Tonight we got a very special guest with us tonight as well. I met her about, maybe 6 years ago. I was doing a thing called the Gospel Cafe. And in the Gospel Cafe, we had a comedian, we had a spoken word artist, and we had a band. And that particular day, she was our spoken word artist. Her name is Electra B. I think you were just moving to Los Angeles from, I'm not sure, I forgot where. But you were brand spanking new from Michigan, right? She's a powerhouse and creative speaker, a life strategy coach, and a best-selling author. She is best known for her world-renowned relationship book and talks on the Eve, Ruth, and Esther blessing. Welcome to the Love Zone tonight, Electra B.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you all.
Yeah, me too. We ran into each other too, I guess a few weeks ago. We were recording something for the Accelerated Radio School of Broadcasting fundraiser. And I'm like, I recognize your face from somewhere. And I'm like, and got it all wrong. Got it all wrong. Right. Listen, you've been busy since you've been here in Los Angeles though, huh? You got busy.
Facts. Yes, I ended up, I moved out here for acting originally. I did some commercials, did some small film stuff, and then kind of just broke into poetry because I was finding my voice, and God transitioned me into ministry. I ended up getting my master's in religious studies. I became a certified chaplain, a Christian counselor, and just got really passionate about love and helping people who desire to find the one God has for them. Prepare for that and be in the season to be found.
Awesome.
Well,
this topic is right down your alley then. Right down your alley.
Yes, it is.
So tonight we're going to be discussing this, guys. What do you bring to the table? And the short title is Table Talk. Little table talk tonight. What do you bring to the table? Now, since I'm the oldest here, I believe it's been established that love alone will not sustain a partnership. And notice I didn't say relationship, right? Didn't say relationship. I believe the only requirement for a relationship is a pulse. That's about it, and you're breathing. That's basically it. But when people come together to build a relationship and decide to take it to a level of partnership, the terms are quite different. Marriage is considered a partnership, right? It's permanent, and at the same time, you can get a divorce, and that cannot be done by mutual consent. You have to go back to the courts and go through all that paperwork and go like, okay, now it's finally done, right? So to me, like a partnership, it's like a small business. Couples manage money, right? They make joint decisions. They communicate with one another about dozens of day-to-day issues, right? So quite naturally for me, automatically, I'm not offended if someone says, well, what do you bring to the table? I also run a business, so I know that I'm not going to partner with anyone if they don't know how to manage money, number one. Number one, if they're not passionate about the business, right? And number two, if they don't want to show up and put some hard work into that thing, I'm not going to partner with you. That's what I require in a partnership, especially when it comes to business. But what triggered this conversation, I sent each of you the video that triggered and sparked this. I don't know.
It lit a match under you. It lit a match. It got under his skin, y'all. He felt it. It was sizzling in his spirit.
Get a little close, huh? It's like.
Wait, Justin. I think it did to Kevin what Kevin Samuels does to me. That's what that video. He gonna play it. He gonna play it, and y'all see for yourself. But how Kevin Samuels get on my nerves, this woman in this video got on all of Kevin's nerves. Y'all about to see right now. Go on now for the video.
Okay, everybody ready? All right.
We ready.
Here we go. Listen to this. Check this out, everybody. And by the way, our phone number is 310-910-9676. Choose extension number 2 if you want to chime into the conversation. That's 310-910-9676, extension number 2. Plus, I'm checking comments on Facebook and also Instagram. No, not Instagram, but on YouTube. All right, here we go. Here's the video. Here we go.
My dad used to take me everywhere I needed to go. Even when I was driving, he would still take me where I needed to go. So that's what I expect of Jamal, just to basically be there for me as my protector, provider. And Jamal, what are your expectations?
It's funny she says that, because I feel like I do that already. I think the question I've actually got for Deborah is, what exactly do you bring to the table?
Are you joking?
Did I start?
That's rude. That is very rude. I don't, should he be asking me that? That's actually rude.
Should he
be
ask
asking
her
me that?
Was he allowed?
Well, let's start from the beginning, though. So what does it mean when asked the question, what do you bring to the table? Let's start from the beginning so that everybody be on the same page, right? And we're going to have, just for the audience, I'm sure that we all have a different perspective on this thing. You know what I mean? We may not always agree, and that's what I love about this panel. You know what I mean? We try to attack every angle possible. So number one, so what does it mean when someone asks you, what do you bring to the table? That's open for everybody.
No, I think it's left up to your own interpretation, what you bring to the table. What do you because what do you consider? Like, to me, I feel like I bring to the table emotional stability. Okay, I have my right mind. I ain't crazy yet. I'm working on my patience. So that's getting better. Okay,
but we're not talking about things you bring to the table. We're talking about the question itself. Like, what does it mean? So when someone asks you, well, okay, you want to be we're in a relationship, so you want to take it to a whole new level. All right, so what do you bring to the table? Why most people are offended by that question? Well, especially women. I didn't want to say that.
I think the offense.
Go ahead, Jess.
What were you saying? No,
go ahead.
You got it.
I was just gonna. I feel like my list. I felt like my list were things we should bring to the table, but Kevin said that list ain't good enough.
No. So I didn't say that. I said that. All I'm saying, that just wasn't the question. That wasn't the question. So you're answering another question. I'm saying, so what does it mean when someone says, hey, look, what are you bringing to the table? Like, what are you talking about?
I think it's
my life.
What value are you bringing to the relationship? Like, what do you feel like as a person you have to contribute? Because most people think highly of themselves, right? So I think I'm a special person. I want to be with someone who's equally as special. So, you know, what do you feel like you're bringing into this, as you said, Kevin, this partnership? What are you contributing? What value do you have to offer my life if I'm in a relationship with you?
Like, what are your bargaining chips? Go ahead, Justin.
What are your bargaining chips?
Yeah, no. What I was gonna say, you know, it's I appreciate what Electra is saying about the value to the relationship. And Kev, you mentioned a second ago, you know, why are people so offended by the question even? And for me, I think that it has to do with thinking about relationships in terms of its usefulness and sort of like practicality. For many people, right, romantic relationships are rooted in the notion of the romantic, right, which is an ideal, which is not very practical, right? We inherit all of these narratives from media, Disney, so on and so forth. We want to think that relationships and love is easy and that we don't have to sort of talk about nitty gritty things like the brass tacks, right? It shouldn't be that hard, we say. But yeah, I think that that's where the offense comes in, right? Of like, wait, this is not supposed to be a relationship that is based on usefulness, right? Because what that would imply is the moment I stop being useful to you, right, you're no longer going to be with me, or, you know, the love itself will then cease. And I think that for a lot of people, that might be a little bit of a too shallow of a notion when we think about love.
See, that's why I was so very careful. I wanted to distinguish between the two, relationship and partnership. Like a relationship, I can have a relationship with you, right? But if you want to have a partnership with me, meaning I have to share everything, my life, everything I've worked hard for. And I'm not talking about, you know, money. I'm talking about just on my character. You know what I mean?
But that's what I'm saying, what you bring to the table.
How I discipline myself, all these things. So I should partner with someone who has not put any type of work into themselves, building themselves up as far as discipline.
It's relative though, Kevin, because like one person's bring to the table may not be what you want someone to bring to. Let someone come to the table and say, listen, I got a degree, I got a PhD, you know, I own my home, I have, you know, zero debt, I've never been married, I don't have any kids. That may be their bargaining tool. That's what they bring to the table. Someone else might say, okay, well, I make 6 figures. Do you know what I mean? Like I like to travel, you know, I'm spiritual. That's what they bring. It's relative. Your answer may not be good enough for someone else. My answer might not be good enough for someone. It's relative. It's based on what you find matters to you.
And I think that's why it's important to ask. That's why it's important to have the conversation.
Why do women find that offensive? Electra Bay, why do you think women find it offensive?
Now, Electra, you had a different take on that video. You did. So what was your perspective on it?
Well, I do want to comment what Doc was saying about the usefulness. I think culture really perpetuates us being in our ego when it comes to relationships. It's all about what I deserve, what you can give me, how good it should be, how you should treat me, that type of thing. But when we're looking at like what the doctor said here, with if someone loses their ability to be as useful to you as they were, then what value do they have? I think people need to bring wholeness to the table. I think it needs to be like, oh, hey, I'm pursuing the best version of myself. I'm evolving a wholeness version of myself in this human body. And I want to be with somebody that's pressing towards that mark too. You know? Right.
I'm coming in one piece, not in bits and pieces.
Exactly. Not a bunch of pieces scattered all over the place, because looks can change, money can change. You know, if their career is based on, you know, their athleticism, and then they lose their leg, boom, you know, there's that right there. You know, and so
yeah.
You know, so
but all of these are logical.
Yes.
I feel like all these are logical, but they're not realistic. In the perfect world, all of these answers will be great. This is what I bring to the table, but that's not what people care about.
What I'm saying,
and that's not why relationships are failing.
So why do we automatically go there? You know, when it comes to, okay, well, you bring to the tables, you think I'm talking about looks, you think I'm talking about your degrees, you think I'm talking about your money. You know, I think the greatest currency on earth to me is integrity. Number one. Honor, you know, good character, all those things that will last, all that other stuff will fade. But I'm saying, but But I'm speaking from a 50-year-old perspective. Like when I look back,
because this, like, what I appreciate that. I mean, as lofty as it is, I mean, I too am a person who grounds himself in sort of trying to cultivate a certain kind of character that I want to have for myself and hope to be appreciated on that basis. But I do think that, right, like I'm speaking from a place of privilege, so I can't really act like, okay, you know, my character hasn't been aided by, you know, having help from this, you know, angle or this angle or that angle. And so, and I think that this, like, it's like, to me, if you encountered somebody, Kevin, who was had the most integrity in the world, but nothing else, like, I mean, literally nothing else. Nothing else.
You happy with it?
I don't think you're looking at that like, oh, you know, well, at least we got this integrity. You know, no, man. I mean,
but I do have. But listen, I do have a list though. I do have a list. So, and I may have about maybe 15 things on that list, right? So I'm not just saying integrity alone, but I know that the integrity is so very important to me. Honesty, you know, transparency, you know, a person of good character is so very, very, I mean, it's at the top of my list.
So,
you know,
okay,
I don't want your money. I don't want your money. I don't want a woman who can just clean up. I mean, I do it myself. I cook myself. I mean, but that could be on another man's list, but that's not on my list. So when I'm asking the question, what if you want to partner with me? So now we're already in relationship. Now you want to take it to the level of partnership. Okay, I'm going to ask the question. Well, what is it? What are your bargaining chips? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it all goes back to the title of my book, Relationship Negotiation.
I mean, that's what it boils down to, I guess.
Say it again.
I want you to answer this, Kevin, because you're talking about a whole lot of stuff on the inside of a person. The integrity, the honesty, the loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
let's get to that outside, sis. Go on and get to it.
Can she be overweight? Can she be ugly? Can she be bald-headed? Can she be,
listen,
you know?
the older I get, my eyes are getting so dim. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even see that no more. Like, huh? Like, it don't even matter. Because if you've been through that, if you have already dated and been there, and that was on the top of your list before, the older you get, that list begin to change. Like, that stuff really fades.
That's change as you get older.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
you're talking like from pretty privilege. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh my God, I've had so many women that it just doesn't matter anymore. It's just like, I mean, no. I get it. And if I was walking around with a voice like you, Kev, I'd probably have that view as well. But look, this is what I'm saying. Like, I get that from this perspective, but I do think that, you know, when we're talking about the table, I think Aishia is right in saying that it's relative, it's subjective. What it is going to vary. And I mean, I think that Electra is onto something too, with like that it is this combination of the inside and the outside, but also social and political positioning. But it makes me think about, Kev, when you talk about what one is bringing to the table, are you expecting that somebody has equal character? Because think about it, we're in America, right, where there's like an asymmetry between men and women as it pertains to sort of like the pay gap, just so many different things, and the prison industrial complex, so many other things. And so I wonder how these things impact the ways one is able to kind of cultivate their character, right? You know, so to be a Black woman in the United States, right, and what that might entail for cultivating a certain kind of integrity versus being a handsome, bald-headed, full-bearded, voice silky Black man like yourself, good brother. You know what I'm saying? Kind of might afford some different kinds of privileges that enable you to work on your virtue, work on your integrity in a different kind of way. And I mean, like, what then of grace? You know what I'm saying? Like, where does grace factor into that equation for you, you think?
There's no grace in relationship these days. There's no grace in dating and relationships. Grace has been gone for a long time. Let's just be honest about it.
Aisha, I would say, like, dating for the past 20 years, that's all I've been giving was grace. Listen, I'm a very patient man. Like I said, there's a lot of grace. I've been very benevolent, if you will, you know, when it comes to grace, you know, like, if, you know, and I'm telling you, I mean, you can ask any woman I've dated in the past. I mean, I've always just tried to take their lives and how they look at life and business and everything to a whole new perspective, you know. and I'm not even bragging about, but that's just what I do. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna be a helpmate to me, right? And if I have to train, if I have to teach whatever that I have learned, then I will give it to you freely.
But you don't want that, Kevin, because then you're gonna be doing what that girl in the video said.
Wait a minute. How does this turn on me?
because the girl in the video she expected her partner to do this laundry list of things, and that's her expectation. So if you're getting women and you're having to re-raise them and deposit thoughts in them and have them change their mind structure so they can be the woman that the world wants them to be, and of God, who wants to raise a woman? You want to raise a woman, or do you want a woman who comes to the table with common sense, who's coming already with her shit together, who's coming already with grace, understanding, self-esteem, patience, okay? She's not coming with an empty stomach. And she's not coming with an empty, a drain where you have to constantly re-pull and you don't want that. And that's what men got to stop doing. Y'all got to stop getting women and raising them and then being upset when your child, because that's what they become when you're child, when they start straying away from your doctrine, or when you get tired of being with women who you have to, speak life into all the time. That's not attractive. Yeah.
Well, listen, let's go back to the video, right? Because you said something very, very interesting. Go ahead, Dr. Clardy. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, kind of still thinking about what Electra is saying with the sort of inside and outside, and thinking about, I think what kind of was really getting under your skin when we was talking about it earlier in the week, Kevin, and that is, it's not that, it's not that it's like relative or subjective or whatever will bring it to the table. It was that that women sometimes, on your view, maybe, feel as if it's enough to be bringing particular things to the table. Which
you can say it. I said it. Right? What did I say? Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Just, exactly.
Just sex, right? And it's like that.
That's what they do.
I'm interested in sort of hearing more from maybe Aishia and Electra about as to how the physical might factor into, I don't know, into a bargaining chip, right? To use the language.
Every woman's vagina is great. Okay, so they bring to the table. They bring good vagina. Okay, their blowjobs are incredible. Super wet. Okay, like she throws it back. She knows how to twerk. That's what they consider bringing to the table. And so for that, what they're going to need in return is trips. Okay, they're going to need you to offer money to them without them having to ask. They're going to need you to be there to financially support them as needed in return for that, that twerking and that throwing it back and all that. That's what they got. And to be honest, y'all taking it.
Right. I like what Aishia was saying in the beginning about what one person brought to the table is going to differ based on what somebody else wants. Like I was raised very modestly. The virtuous woman was always kind of embedded in my mind. And so the things that I'm bringing to the table will mirror that. And so I would need a man that's looking for those quote unquote biblical virtuous qualities. But I think Aishia had a really good for you, Kevin, and I know we're putting you on the spot, but
it's okay. I'm ready.
Raising these women, because I feel like as women we do the same thing with men. We will raise these men, and don't nobody want to be raising a man, and
you become resentful.
Yes, you become resentful, and I feel like people want to be with somebody that they're equally yoked with, somebody that they're like-minded with, somebody that is bringing similar qualities, the qualities that they value. So like for you, Kev, it would be, integrity. It would be loyalty. It would be a mindset of partnership. It's somebody that, can bear the weight with you. Somebody you ain't got to be dragging along, and so someone that's equally yoked, that mirrors that is going to be, a good match for somebody who sees value in the things that you see value in.
I'm glad you took it back there, because watch the beginning of this video. What she says, right? She's comparing this man to her daddy. Listen to this.
My dad used to take me everywhere I needed to go. Even when I was driving, he would still take me where I needed to go. So that's what I expect of Jamal, just to basically be there for me as my protector, provider, and
Okay. She says, my dad, used to take me everywhere.
But that's what our daddies
everywhere I
us,
needed
Kevin.
to go. So the question is this, right? So when you transition out of daddy's house, right? And most women are looking for a man like their daddy, right? Now keep in mind, dads, I raised my little girl. I didn't raise my woman. I raised my little girls. So these things, I'm looking to treat my little girl this way. So a lot of women transition out of or from daddy's house into the husband's house or her man's house, and
from daddy's house.
Right, and still expect to be treated. Listen, and expect to be treated like her daddy treated her.
Because that's how y'all raise us. They got to pick a side, man. Y'all raise daughters. You raise daughters to be looked after. You tell them to marry, to be with a man who looks after you, who provides for you, who'll do things like change, take your car to get serviced, to get your brakes done, or to get your oil in your car changed. A man who you don't have to ask to do things, who does it willingly. Get you a man that protects and provides. That's what daddies tell us as little girls growing up. And then we become grown women, and then we're told we're not supposed to ask for those things. So which one is it?
So are we raising our daughters the wrong way?
Yes. I don't know if it's necessarily the wrong way. I think that sometimes it's too literal. I think women can take it a little too far. But we're raising our daughters to pick men who will protect and provide. And I know my daddy took care of my car. He made sure anything wrong with it, he made sure it got fixed. And he wanted a man who came along to be just as committed and dedicated to my needs as he was.
Well, I did hear this, that marriage is a form of adoption. That's what I heard.
Get out of here.
I mean, that's well, that's what TD Jake said. TD Jake straight up said, hey, look, marriage is a form of adoption. And I'm sure Dr. Clardy can talk on that. Go ahead. He would probably know more about that.
All I was going to say is, I'm here for the transition from daddy to zaddy. That's all I'm saying. You see this weird,
from daddy to zaddy,
right? You know what I'm saying? So y'all got the number is below. Holler at your boy. But no, really, I was thinking, but seriously though, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. And I was thinking a second ago about, what Alexa was saying about, this equally yoked thing. And I think that it kind of made me think about what Kevin was saying earlier and sort of like what he's looking for and sort of like this gendered aspect. And I don't know how much I believe in the possibility in heterosexual relationships for men and women to be equally yoked. I think it has to do something more with sort of like likeness of value or some kind of like, I don't know, some kind of matching, but I don't know if like equal yokeness is I think that's kind of a little bit more out of, at least in my experience, out of our reach. But, it's, when I'm thinking about the table, right, I'm looking like for people who will actually be different than me, that will challenge me, that will expand, my way of seeing the world, my way of thinking about things, right? And so, not to fetishize or anything like that, saying, oh, like I have to have, somebody who's quote unquote exotic, which I feel like is terrible language to use or whatever. But, people who represent like a different background, just because I'm always into sort of growing my mind in a particular sort of way. So like Kevin, when you were saying, the looks will fade and this and the third, I do agree with all of that. And I think that's kind of why for me, it's in the ability of like, how different from me how different from me are you? And how much are we willing to spend the time in this relationship to kind of bridge our experiences closer together, right? So I kind of like starting far and then kind of like coming in closer because I don't know if we track my own growth and the growth of the relationship in some senses, I'm
wondering with the polyamory, that's one thing that's probably good about polyamory is that you don't have to find it all in one person. You know what I mean? The coming to the table, you have different people that can bring different things that make up the total of what you would want in your life. And that, to me, that's the upside of the polyamory.
Yeah. But that round table is like more like King Arthur, and I'm sitting at the head of it. Like that's a different kind of table.
Boy.
It's like, but no, I'm just
Electra B, go ahead.
I think what Doc was saying about this whole coming together thing, it made me think about how we talk about how opposites attract. And I feel
Yes.
like opposites can attract, but I don't feel like opposites can stay together. I think we stay together with people that, when I say equally yoked, yoked is, that's a cool term, but in modern day, if I'm trying to explain it in that way, I would say someone that mirrors you, someone that's like-minded with you, somebody
Yeah,
that's on the same
like-mindedness.
page
Yes.
with you, someone that you can walk forward in agreement with. So, I mean, there's gonna be this balance in the relationships, because we hopefully we've got one person who's dominant in energy and another person that's dominant in her feminine. And so there's equality in the oneness of that moving forward. But I don't really know if I believe that opposites have that ability to come together and then stay together, because they're kind of headed in a different direction.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I think that's what, people talk about when we get into these romantic relationships, like, oh, communication. I think that, yes, maybe it's sort of easier to communicate with people who are like-minded, but I also feel like that doesn't necessarily push me as far. And so I think that maybe it takes a little bit more labor, and people don't necessarily want to do that labor on their romantic relationships. I mean, because most of the time when we come back home, when we come to our relationship, it's because we've just come from the world, right? And particularly as Black people, the world is going to make us work hard enough. You feel me? So then the question becomes, damn, why when I get back home do I still have to do this labor? And I think I can understand that. I really can. But I also think that I'm a person who feels like very deeply, like in a lot of ways, I was put here to love, right? And so for me, if my loving requires sort of, hyper communication, or like what some people might call over communicating, to make sure that I'm understanding my partner and that my partner is understanding me, then so be it, right? Because that's what I signed up for. And I didn't necessarily sign up for the easy road. I signed up for the road that would be optimal. And by optimal, I mean sort of like most growth promoting. And so I don't know. I think that. Yeah, go ahead.
And I do understand what you're saying, Dr. Clardy, too. And I think we have to answer this question too. What's the goal of the relationship? Right. Like each relationship has a goal. Like, okay, now if we're coming together, we're coming together for something specific. Now, what that thing is. All right. So if we discover what that thing is, then we'll go like, okay, these are the tools that we need in order to reach this goal. Understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm not going to partner with you if I have this goal and I'm like, hey, look, I want to have kids. I want to make sure that we're debt free. We get our house paid for in 15 years or whatever it may be, right? Whatever that goal is for the relationship, then I'm going to choose the right partner for that goal. And we both have to have that common goal in the relationship.
Because the yoke thing, I don't want someone to be exactly like me. I find that the opposite is better for me. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm so, just big, and to me it works better if someone's more demure and just more laid back and more calm. Like I'm very spiritual. That I do like. Not necessarily religious, but spiritual. So opposites attract in my life. I think it just works better.
Well, explain that, because I do understand the equally yoked approach, but I don't understand the opposites attract. Like, why would I want someone completely opposite of me? You on drugs, I'm not. You like to drink, I don't. Like, what? How does that work? Opposites. Like, I want someone completely opposite. Like, what would be the purpose of that?
When a person is in a toxic place on the inside, when they're still healing, when they're still getting over childhood traumas, for example, they can be drawn, or they can draw somebody or attract somebody that is opposite to them, that is opposite to where they're actually heading. Like what you said, being on the same page as far as your purpose, like the purpose of the partnership, the purpose of the relationship. So we can attract, somebody that's opposite of who we really are at our core, opposite of who we're developing to be. But if we're continuing on this path of evolution, of being our best and highest selves, it's gonna be too challenging, I think, to move forward at the same pace with somebody who is still opposite of me. I feel like I can only walk forward if I'm with somebody that's in it with my goals, my vision for my life being purpose-minded, being the type of person that wants to evolve into my highest self in this while I'm on this planet.
Yeah, and I wonder here if and this is gonna be like popping the top like Pringles. It's like I wonder here how much capitalism impacts, how much we're willing to shape our desires around like itself. Because I'm thinking about like building and growing and evolving, and then I'm thinking about like growth towards some end, and a lot of this stuff has to do with home ownership. A lot of this stuff has to do with like finances, and Kevin's been using the language of like building business and stuff like this. And I'm just like, man, capitalism is all over the place. And that make me think about how much the idea of love itself is constrained by capitalism, right? And so, sometimes people will say, they'll hit you with the love is love, you know what I'm saying? And that's supposed to suggest that love is kind of transcendental, right? It exists kind of outside of the world of like the physical and the material. But when we think about how these relationships are formed and sustained, and like walking in purpose and walking in alignment, it then begins to seem like, well, maybe love ain't so transcendental after all. Maybe it's a lot more practical. Maybe it's a lot more pragmatic. And I think that when we start talking about love in terms of the practical and the pragmatic, it does begin to seem a lot less romantic. You feel me? Because it's not as many bells and whistles or pie in the sky. It's a lot more just kind of like.
But you know why? You know why that is, right? Because things cost, man. I mean, you got to have a roof over your head. You know what I mean? Listen, we're using the internet right now. It costs. The lights are on right now. It costs. So
that's fine. We have to acknowledge though that that's all true. But we have
food used to be free, but food is no longer free.
Look, we have to acknowledge the possibility. We have to acknowledge the possibility, though, that we could be talking about two different sorts of things, right? We're talking about relationships that will give us love, right? As if, love isn't sort of like fettered by this other shit. We could talk about two things.
Well, not necessarily. And that's why in the beginning, I set the tone like, hey, look, there's a difference between the relationship and a partnership. Like if you want to take the relationship, like I said, we can have a relationship. All you need is a pulse, and that's basically it. All you need is a smile. That's basically it. We got a relationship. All right. So if you want to take it to another level where you want to partner with me, you want to be my wife, or you want me to be your husband, right? Then that's a totally different ballpark. It's a whole new set of terms.
When I was in my 20s,
go ahead.
When I was in my 20s, I wanted, the men that I dated, I wanted them to be a certain way. I wanted them to think like I think. I wanted them to be interested in what I was interested in. I wanted them to want the things that I wanted. And that's all I saw. I had tunnel vision. You have to mirror my wants and needs and the things that I want in a relationship. It wore me out. Now, at 39, it's not so much about, I don't need to control or have this list of things that someone has to have and how they have to think. My way is not the only way to happiness. There's several different paths you can take to be happy in a relationship. So I don't need to control you anymore. All I need for you to do is for you to be a good human being. I need you to have common sense. I need you to have some level of spirituality, some sense of right and wrong, right? I need you to have loyalty. The whole love thing, oh my love, and we're going to get married and be in love. That's not life. That's not real life. If you're married for love, you're going to be disappointed because eventually that's going to go away. Now, you may fall back in love, but at some point, the love's going to go away. And all the things that you bring to the table, that friendship, the understanding, those qualities come into play when you fall out of love. But the less you need to be like you, to me, the happier you become. Less control.
That's going to be the title. That's going to be the title of my second book. Don't marry for love.
And that's interesting. That's
Don't
interesting
marry for love.
It's interesting, Aisha, that you talk about, how love can go somewhere, right? And that we kind of think about when we're talking about bringing stuff to the table. It seems like we're talking about like, look, what can help us build the most stable partnership, right? But then some of the things that we're talking about, like income, especially insofar as our partner is not an entrepreneur and working for somebody else, even that is kind of like quasi stability. It's not like real stability. It's like, you carry in this bag now, you feel me? But shit, just last year in COVID, how many people got laid off? You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
And so now all of a sudden, so when it comes back to what the original question, Kevin, of what you bring to the table, somebody who's bringing this bag, if that bag factors into what I'm bringing to the table, to where this relationship is sustainable and stable, then I lose that bag. Then is the implication that I should lose my partner, lose my relationship?
That's where that hustle come in. That's when somebody brings hustle to the table. Because if something happened with your wife,
bring hustle to the table.
I'm just saying, when somebody brings to the table, like, I'm a go-getter, I'm a self-starter, I'm going to go out and make this money, I'm going to get this bag regardless. So when you say, what do you bring to the table? And early on, they're like, oh, I'm a go-getter. I like to hustle. I like to make money. When something happens to you, that person's going to know what to do to bring some money in the house in the event that something happens and you're only living off one income. Let's
take a look at this video. Here's one of the benefits. It kind of bugs me. I mean, when guys pander. Well, let me play the video first. Here we go.
Move in with a man, that's a husband benefit. When you're doing laundry, when you sleeping with him, those husband benefits. If a man not your husband, you don't owe him nothing, but quality time, conversation, gratitude, and thanks if he does something for you, pay for the dinner or what have you. You don't owe him nothing else. So it's a huge misconception going around online where grown boys is saying, grown boys are saying, hey, you need to show me you a wife by cooking and cleaning and doing this stuff around this apartment, around this house, if you want me to marry you. That's ignoramuty, okay? And that's not a word, that's my word. But basically that's ignoramus calamity. So that's ignoramuty, okay? So that's what grown boys do. They want you to slave around a house to show them that you are wife material.
Okay.
That was like a whole clownastrophe. That's like a
clownastrophe.
Ignoramuty. My good brother said we ain't got to do nothing. Okay, all we got to do is answer your phone call and say hi and what's up. If you ain't our man, we ain't got to pay you much attention. That's what he said.
Listen. This is
for the man though too. They would say, well, then the man ain't got to take you out. The man ain't got to buy the woman nothing. The man, I feel like when somebody, because I'm thinking like marriage mindset, right? So I don't feel like a person just becomes married when they say I do and they get that ring. You have the mindset leading up to it. Like if somebody isn't showing me, you have the ability to provide, bring the things to the table that I personally want ahead of time. Like if you're not a good boyfriend, why would you be a good husband? If you're not a good girlfriend, why wouldn't you be you can't expect her to all of a sudden be cooking and cleaning and she's shown you no fruit of that before the marriage.
I'll let you be. That is my point right there. And I tell folk all the time that there's nothing magical that takes place. There's no angels in heaven saying, okay, well, let me go ahead and pour this sauce on him right now. This wifey sauce, this husbandy sauce on him right now. And boom, it's going to work just like that. Never, ever, ever. But the point I'm really trying to make is this. So why is it okay for a woman to ask the man, what are you bringing to the table? And it's so offensive when a man says, okay, well, you already see what I do. I mean, Deborah, I feel I've done that since the beginning. Now, my question for you, Deborah, is what do you bring to the table? Should he be asking me that? Did I stutter?
Well, I feel like he should have asked that before they even got the visit.
Listen, if you go back to that, let's go back to that video. Let's dissect this video again. Let's take a look at it. I want you to read and look at both of their body languages.
We've been watching this video all week because Kevin has not let us stop watching it. So y'all are getting just a little bit of a glimpse. How many times we had to watch this video?
Listen, I don't know.
I'm obsessed with Kevin Samuels.
Listen, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the Gemini in me where I'm just over analytical, but I'm like looking at the body language because,
She got under your skin with that.
All right, for the last time. Here we go. Here we go.
My dad used to take me everywhere I needed to go. Even when I was driving, he would still take me where I needed to go. So that's what I expect of Jamal, just to basically be there for me as my protector, provider.
Now, notice how he's looking at her sideways, right?
Like he's never heard it before.
He's looking at like he heard this before, like he dealt with this before. But now she want to bring the same question up in front of the marriage counselor now, right? Look at his look.
And Jamal, what are your expectations
It's funny she says that because I feel like I do that already. I think the question I've actually got for Deborah is, what exactly do you bring to the table?
Are you joking?
Did I start?
That's rude. That is very rude. I don't like. Should he be asking me that? That's actually rude.
This guy's like, I'm fed up. Like, hey, look, we had this conversation at home before. He's like, you know, hey, look, all right, I feel like I've done these things. I mean, and Deborah, we talked about this. Now, what exactly do you bring to you? Asking for all this protection? You asking me to be your zaddy now? Everything that your daddy did, you asking me, you know, to do that now. Now, what are you bringing to the table? Exactly. And I'm sure that's probably why she looked at him sideways saying, you know what? I gave you great sex last night. And you mean to tell me, you asking me, what am I bringing to the table? And I'm saying, men, we got to stop just accepting that. I know it's valuable, but that is not more valuable than what we have. It's not like both is not equally being pleasured at the same time. Like the man is only getting pleasure from it.
These men ain't being mistreated. They could easily put their foot down and say, you know what, I'm not doing this no more. I'm not giving in to women and its shenanigans. But no, they continue to they continue to follow these women's rules in order to get vagina because they're afraid they're going to lose out on vagina. So if they got to pay for things, if they got to shuffle women around, if they got to, they're going to do it. Men don't respect themselves enough to put their foot because they don't want to lose vagina. Let's just be honest. It all goes back to the.
Aisha is sounding like me. She's sounding like me. Am I rubbing off on you? You're under my tutelage. You're under my tutelage.
I don't know if it's the vagina thing though, because as I said it many a times, man. Erotic fatigue is real. I think that for some folks who do have access to it pretty regularly, I don't think that they're really sweating, you know, keeping it in a particular sort of way. Now, like, you know.
What is the thing?
You said, we do have a caller too. We've been having this caller on hold for the longest. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you still there? I think they're there. They've been on hold for the past 25 minutes. My bad on that. I tell you, I'm going to hang up, caller. You call right back, all right? You might just be listening to the show on the phone, but call right back if you have a comment. The phone number is 310-910-9676, extension number 2. And we got a whole bunch of comments on Instagram, not Instagram, but Facebook and YouTube. But it's just a lot. All right, Dr. Clardy, go ahead, finish.
Yeah, I done forgot what I was saying. I was just kind of talking about to Aisha's point that I don't know if it's always about vagina and sex, because I do think that, you know, again, speaking from a position of privilege, you know, sex is not something that is in short supply around me or really any of my homies or homegirls or whatever. I mean, I think I hang out with attractive people who are in pretty decent positions for themselves, right? They can, you know, go out and do whatever they want. You know, we're those. But I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with this culture of sort of like chasing and sort of being the chased or like prey and like the hunted, right? Because, for example, I mean, I had a partner of mine tell me before, you know, in joking like, you know, like, oh, what you bring to the table, and it's like, well, I am the table, right? And I mean, like, and that's like, oh, you know, honestly, and I will say on air, yeah, she is the table.
She said that. She said that to you.
Yeah, it was a joke though.
Oh,
right?
okay,
I mean,
okay.
She
meant that. She meant that. She meant that.
Yeah,
she meant that for real.
Right? You know, but I do think that I think that to me, not from her, but like when I think about that, I think about this idea of like the prey and the hunter and the hunted, and this idea that, you know, women in heterosexual relationships in a heteronormative culture are positioned to kind of be pursued by men in a particular sort of way, sort of like the whole chase, which, you know, Kev, what you're saying kind of stands in direct opposition to that. It's like, hey, I'm the catch too. You feel me? It's not just like, you know, a man, you know, relates to this woman and now now she got this catch. It's like, hold on, man. I kind of, You know,
But
I just looked in the mirror too. I'm
hey, but
drinking this water.
it took me 50 years to figure it out, though. It took me 50 years to figure
Really?
it out. So, but you have to go back to this too. I think that a man just have a proclivity to cleave. Even Scripture says, "For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife." Right. So we cleave. Like once we get something good, and the woman knows it too. The woman knows it, and she's like, "I got this man where I got it, where I want him."
But I don't know. The image of cleave is
Right
interesting
where
too,
I want him.
especially in relation to that conversation we was having about earlier with the mommies and the daddies, right? Because when I think of the word cleave, I think of cleavage, right? And I think of sort of like the latching onto the breast that is done by the infant unto the mother.
You're absolutely right. So, you're right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
It's kind of like that.
See, but what happens in a relationship? What happens is this: in order for that man to get that woman to cooperate, if you will, right? He would have to morph into her son almost, right? Let me know. You can't go out this weekend. You can't go out. Oh, I gotta ask my wife to see if you guys can come over. Huh? I
know someone who does that to their partner.
I gotta check in with my girl to make sure it's okay for me to go out and whatever, right? Because if he does not cooperate that way, almost as if her son, yeah, he's not gonna get the loving and the caressing and the kisses and whatever else he was getting from his mama. From what he was getting from his mama.
Men will be like, you can't wear, I don't want you wearing that, or you know, I don't like you hanging out with those friends.
That was 30 years ago. That ain't today. Big K say that. That was 30 years ago.
Today, you know, I want to go back to what Doc was saying about this whole cleavage thing, and Kev, and I think Aisha, you were saying too about are we raising daughters, you know, wrong or whatever. I feel like if you grew up with a good dad that was present, like, you're gonna want a man that reminds you of your dad, that gives you those qualities. You know, because that's something you experience, and it's the same thing. If because a lot of men won't admit it, but they have issues with their moms. But if a man respects and honors and loves his mother, because I think love is important in any relationship. So if a man loves his mother, chances are he's gonna look to cleave to a woman that reminds him of his mother. If his
absolutely,
mother
I believe that.
and supportive,
I know men who love their mom and they still trifling.
He's gonna want a woman like that.
I'm just saying. I know men who love their mom and they still trifling and tacky, but they love their mom. I don't know.
Hey, so let's bring it on home. We have about maybe 5 minutes left for the show tonight. So back to the subject of what do you bring to the table? All right, so let's go back to this one main question. Why is it offensive, or is it offensive? How many different angles, how many different ways you can take that question, right?
It's offensive to someone who's entitled.
It's offensive if what?
To someone who's entitled, someone who has entitlement, like that, they're offended by that. Someone who has entitlement issues. Because someone who's open, who's a giver, who's a team player, you shouldn't be offended by someone saying, okay, you know, what you bring to the team. If you're like, excuse me, what I bring to the team, you know what I mean? Like Kanye said, my presence is a present.
My presence is a present. All right, caller, you there? Go ahead. Turn your radio down.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I want to go back to the conversation about daddies. How is it that you want to skip over? Okay, so a daddy teaches daughter like a queen and wants her, or like a princess, however you want to put it, and you raise her that way. How do you skip over then your wife to say, oh, I should only treat my daughter that way?
It'll be very, very difficult to do that, to tell you the truth.
Right.
Very, very difficult to do that.
So,
I mean, because I want my woman to feel, my woman is my queen. So, I mean, I want to shower her with every good and perfect gift that I have. I'm not even talking about just like my money, but everything else, it's hers. So it'll be very, very difficult for me to separate the two. I want to treat her like that.
But
now, should a woman, but should a woman have that sort of expectation, leaving daddy's house, going into zaddy's house? That's what Dr. Clardy called it.
Hello.
Why shouldn't she?
Well, like Deborah said too, she said, "Hey, look, my daddy picked me up. Even when I had a car, my daddy picked me up every day to make sure I get where I needed to go." That same expectation, she expected that from Jamal. Was that okay?
I don't think that all of that expectation should be required as far as your relationship is concerned, only because before there was that person, that significant other, I was an independent woman. So, no, you don't have to do all of that. I don't expect you to be my chauffeur.
Okay.
But there are some qualities of my father that should be in place when I leave my father's house to go to my daddy's house, period.
Right.
Okay.
Now, you're not expecting to get with a servant then, right? Like you just want your man to serve you, and it's just about you.
Sis said she give back.
Dr. Clardy, you said something?
No, I was listening to the caller. No, I was listening.
Okay. Yeah, but I think that's a very valid point. I think you're right about that. I mean, I can't separate the two. But like Aisha said, I'm from a different generation. I'm from a different breed.
We need men to stop, and we don't need y'all to bring y'all ashy penises to the table. It's because men act like that's what they bring to the table, and that's the truth. They feel like the penis is a prize, it's a present, and if women can't view their bodies and their vaginas as a commodity to bring to the table, then men shouldn't be doing the same thing with their penises.
I think we should. I think it's our time to do that. It is our time to do that. For so long, you guys have done that. For so long. For centuries. Come on now. So yes, my penis is a prize. It is.
I'm just none of this.
My love is king. Huh?
Oh my God.
Well, you said don't use it as a bargaining tool. Why not?
I'm over it. I'm over because men jump on women about stuff like that. But these days, men feel like their money and their penis is what they bring to the table. That's how men think. So yeah, a lot of women are off with what they have to offer, but men are far off too. Again, this conversation is logical.
Huh? I was gonna say that's why I mean not just, but one of the things.
No, you said it right. You said it right.
No. One of the things that I take most pride in bringing is sort of like my intellectual stimulation, right? I do think that. I mean, as it pertains to sort of conversationalist, I mean, I'm a Leo. So I feel like I'm literally the best one in the world, at chopping down any conversation from any angle. And I think that, that's something that I take great pride in. That's something that I value. And I think that that's something that it's not my money or my penis or whatever. Those are kind of like, that's like dessert. You feel me? That's like once we've cleared the table and then, it's kind of like, time to, get the sweet stuff. But like, but for me, the main course is probably going to be, my ability to sort of intellectually like align and click with somebody who maybe asks penetrating questions and things like that.
Leadership. Women want men to bring leadership to the table.
That's important.
Can men bring that to the table? Because women are struggling with men that they can respect and honor, look up to. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of women who want to look at their man as someone who they just admire. But men they can't lead. They can't lead themselves. They can't lead a household. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that men are lacking when it comes to bringing to the table. Money is great. It's amazing. But that's not enough. If that's the case, a lot of women wouldn't be miserable. There's plenty of women who are rich men who are miserable.
I think what Deborah was saying about wanting a man to drive her around like her dad did, I personally don't see anything wrong with that. Like, I had a father who, when I lived at home, he filled my gas tank up for me. He got my oil changed. I don't think I ever changed my own oil until I moved out to California.
Yes,
now,
exactly.
Desire a man that's going to do that for me? Absolutely. Is it like an expectation where you have to do this because my dad? No. But I feel like because I saw that, my parents have been married for like 37 years or something. And my mom to this day ain't never filled her tank since they've been married. And to me, I feel like that's a quality masculine type thing for a man to do, and
we learn what we live. We learn what we live.
Right.
It's a new day, so we driving Teslas now, so we ain't got to get no oil change. We ain't got to do none of that stuff. Let's take one last call before we end the show tonight. Caller, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to go back a little bit to the basic of the question of what do you bring to the table. And I think, of course, at the beginning, I think Aishia was saying that everybody kind of has their own things that they are requiring to come to the table when dating someone or being in a relationship with someone. But I think one of the main things when saying to a person, what do you bring to the table? You ultimately should want someone who is going to help you be the better version of yourself. Whether you have something that's a little bit stronger that you can pour into your man and vice versa, what that man can pour into you. So when Kevin said earlier about he wants to be able to pour things into his woman, it's not necessarily, I feel, that you're trying to train her or teach her different things, but I think it can go yin and yang, where that woman can give you something that you might not have 100% of, and vice versa. So I think that it is, of course, more than just love, because you can love a person all day long, and that's not enough. But when it comes down to the partnership, it's like, are you a helpmate? Could you help me to get to even a higher level, and vice versa? Can he help me to get to even a higher level? Because you can have all the values, you can be a beautiful woman, he can be a handsome man, you can have all the money in the world, but it is so much more that pours into that. So that, to me, is what do you bring to the table? Can you help me to be a better version of myself? And vice versa. I want to give that to you, and you give that back to me.
Appreciate your phone call tonight. I mean, she's absolutely right. I mean, looking back in retrospect, I mean, I remember, I didn't have a clue about saving, you know what I mean? Balancing my checkbook or anything like that, right? I mean, it was that woman that said, no, we're going to do it like this. This is how you're going to do it. And I mean, she poured into me, and of course I pour into her. So it is
as it should
be.
Partnership.
That's partnership.
Yeah.
All right, we got to wrap things up, everybody. So let's start with Electra B, our very special guest. Give us some closing remarks.
I think overall it's going to depend on what the person desires, what they're looking for in order for them to become their best and highest self and to just move forward in their journey. And I think that's going to look different for different people. And I think a person can get what it is that they're desiring. If they don't lower their expectations, they don't fall into disappointment. If they keep pursuing it, I think they can get what they want.
Good stuff. All right, where can people find you and get your books, all the good stuff?
Yes, absolutely. You can follow me on my YouTube channel. Subscribe to me, Electra B. That's all one word, Electra BE. I do a lot of relationship and inspirational videos. You can also check out some of my coaching and other relational things that I'm doing at prepareforadam.com, as well as my Patreon page, patreon.com/Electra B.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and being a part of our show today. It was great. Let's go to Aishia Deal. Aishia Deal. Closing remarks from you, sis.
Okay, so my closing remarks are: decide what you want, decide what you need in a partner, stand on it, and don't waver.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so we're going to close out with the Dr. Clardy. Go ahead, Doc.
Man, there's nothing more important than communication when you're thinking about